hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Harlan Knox sat with his back straight, hands resting on his knees, as Dr. Ava Salter scribbled notes between them. The burgundy leather chair felt too soft, designed for comfort rather than function. Across from him, Marla shifted every 30 seconds, crossing, then uncrossing her legs, adjusting her blouse, touching her hair. Classic deflection behaviors. 12 years in cybersecurity had taught Harlan to read people like computers' input, processing, output. Marla's output was textbook anxiety. Maybe if you actually spoke during these sessions, we might get somewhere, Marla said, breaking the silence. Her voice carried that familiar edge, part accusation, part performance. Harlan met her gaze evenly. Speaking requires something worth saying. Dr. Salter leaned forward. Harlan, communication isn't just about efficiency. Marla is expressing that she feels unheard. He noted how Ava's eyes lingered on Marla a beat too long. Interesting. Another data point. I feel like I'm living with a ghost. Marla continued, her voice cracking with practiced precision. You're physically there, but emotionally, nothing. Do you know what that's like? Harlan kept his breathing steady. I know what betrayal feels like. The room went still. Dr. Salter's pen stopped moving. What's that supposed to mean? Marla's question came out sharp. Just an observation. Harlan maintained eye contact with Ava, not Marla. The counselor's pupils dilated slightly. Another tell. Doctor. Salter cleared her throat. Let's focus on constructive communication. Harlan, can you express what you need from this marriage? Honesty would be a start. His voice remained level, controlled. Marla threw up her hands. See? This is what I deal with. Cryptic comments, cold shoulders. My father was right about military men. They bring the battlefield home. Harlan almost smiled at the irony. If only she knew which battlefield they were actually on. Your father left your mother for his secretary when you were 12? Harlan stated flatly. Interesting benchmark. That's not fair. Marla's eyes welled up. On cue. Doctor. Salter intervened. We're veering off track. Marla has expressed feeling unloved and disconnected. Harlan, can you acknowledge that? I acknowledge that's what she's saying. He checked his watch. Our hour's almost up. Dr. Salter sighed. For next week, I'd like you both to write down 3 things you value about your marriage. Can you commit to that? Marla nodded eagerly. Of course. Sure, Harlan said, already calculating his next move outside this room. As they gathered their things, Harlan watched Marla's hand brush against Ava's while accepting a tissue. The touch lasted 1.4 seconds longer than necessary. The counselor's cheeks flushed briefly. On the drive home, they sat in silence. 12 years ago, they talked for hours about everything: his combat experiences, her childhood dreams, plans for future. Now, the silence between them held different meanings. For Marla, it was ammunition. For Harlan, it was reconnaissance. I'm having dinner with Jenna tonight, Marla announced as they pulled into their driveway. Harlan nodded. Jenna didn't exist, at least not in the context Marla implied. The phone records confirmed that. Don't wait up, she added, a challenge in her voice. Wouldn't dream of it. He kept his tone neutral as he unlocked their front door. Inside, Marla headed upstairs to change while Harlan went to his home office. He locked the door, activated the white noise generator, and opened his laptop. Within seconds, he accessed the encrypted folder labeled Endgame. Inside were subfolders: financials, surveillance, communications, legal. The phone on his desk buzzed. Perry Kane's name flashed on the screen. You still coming by tonight? Perry asked when Harlan answered. Yeah, she's having dinner with Jenna. He emphasized the name. Ah, the famous Jenna. Want me to have Victor's people track her? Already handled. Harlan clicked through surveillance photos. She's meeting Reed at 8 o'clock, then has a therapy session with Dr. Salter at 10:30. Perry whistled. The gym guy and the shrink? Damn, how are you so calm? Harlan closed the laptop. Because I learned in Fallujah that you don't win by reacting. You win by planning. Your birthday dinner's in 3 weeks. You sure you want to do it then? It's perfect timing. She thinks she's setting me up, but the trap's already sprung. She just doesn't know it yet. After hanging up, Harlan stood at his office window, watching Marla back her car out of the driveway. She checked her makeup in the rearview mirror, practiced a smile, then drove away. The marriage that had once been his anchor was now just another mission to complete. The betrayal stung, but he'd used that pain as fuel. Loyalty was everything. His father had taught him that after his mother died. People will disappoint you, son, he'd said, but principles never will. Harlan grabbed his keys. Time to meet Perry and refine the plan. Marla wanted war. He would give her annihilation. The offices of Pinnacle PR gleamed with modern minimalism, all glass, chrome, and strategic lighting. Marla Knox crossed her legs underneath the conference table, watching her colleagues file out after their morning meeting. Only Diane remained, gathering her notes. "You look like you need a drink, and it's not even noon," Diane said, sliding into the chair beside Marla. "Is it that obvious?" Marla pushed her hair back from her face. "Only to someone who's known you for 8 years." Diane lowered her voice. "Another bad session with a robot husband?" Marla's lips tightened. "He's cheating on me. I know it." "Wait, what? Mr. By-the-Book Marine? Are you sure? He works late constantly. Takes private calls. And there's this emptiness when he looks at me now." Marla's voice wavered. "The way he watches me sometimes, it's like he's gathering intelligence." Diane frowned. "That's not exactly proof. He mentioned betrayal in our session yesterday, like he was dropping a hint that he knows something." Marla tapped her fingernails against the glass table. "But two can play that game. It's time I found out what he's hiding." "What are you thinking?" Marla pulled out her phone, scrolling to a bookmark page. Greaves Investigations. Best private detective firm in the state, according to 3 different forums. You're seriously going to have your husband follow? His birthday dinner is in 3 weeks. All his colleagues, our friends, his family will be there. A slow smile spread across Marla's face. "Imagine the look on his face when I present him with proof of his affairs in front of everyone who matters to him." Diane looked uncomfortable. "That sounds nuclear. He values his reputation more than anything." "It's perfect." Marla stood up, smoothing her skirt. "I have a consultation with him this afternoon." Victor Greaves had the weathered face of a man who'd seen too many marriages dissolve into battlegrounds. His office was purposefully underwhelming. No certificates on the wall, no family photos, nothing to reveal who he was to clients. "Mrs. Knox, what can I help you with today?" His voice was gruff but professional. Marla sat forward in her chair. "I need evidence that my husband is having an affair." "I see. And do you have any specific reasons to believe he's being unfaithful?" "Woman's intuition." Marla smiled tightly. "Plus, he's been working late, taking private calls, emotionally distant." Victor wrote nothing down. "Those could be signs of many things. Depression, work stress, financial troubles. My husband doesn't get depressed. He calculates." She leaned forward. "I need solid proof by the 18th. That's non-negotiable." Victor studied her. "That's just under 3 weeks. Not much time for a thorough investigation. Your website claims you're the best. Prove it." She placed a check on his desk. "This is your retainer. I'll double it if you deliver by the deadline." After she left, Victor waited exactly 17 minutes before picking up his secure line. When the call connected, he didn't bother with pleasantries. "She came in, just like you said she would." On the other end, Harlan Knox's voice was calm. "And wants evidence of your affairs by the 18th. Your birthday. Good. Everything's on schedule then." A pause. "Who are you assigning to follow me?" "New hire. Leanne Brody. Sharp kid, eager to prove herself. Make sure she finds nothing. Then point her toward Marla instead." Victor leaned back in his chair. "You sure about this, Harlan? 19 years in this business. I've never seen a clean ending to this kind of operation. That's because most people let emotions drive tactics. This isn't about emotions. It's about justice." After the call ended, Victor opened his filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder labeled Knox H. Ongoing. Inside were photographs, financial statements, and surveillance reports dating back 4 months. Harlan had been his client long before Marla ever walked through his door. In a smaller office down the hall, Leanne Brody organized her equipment for the new assignment. At 28, she was the youngest investigator at the firm, but what she lacked in experience, she made up for in technological savvy and determination. Greaves wants to see you, said a voice from her doorway. She looked up to see Victor standing there, holding a folder. Your new assignment. He handed her the file. Husband works in cybersecurity. Ex-military. Be extra careful, this guy will spot amateur surveillance from a mile away. Leanne scanned the basic information. What's our client looking for? Evidence of infidelity. She thinks he's having an affair. And is he? Victor's expression remained neutral. That's what you're going to find out. The bar was nearly empty at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Perry Kane wiped down the counter with methodical strokes, watching Harlan study the chessboard between them. They'd been friends since 4th grade, when Perry had stood up to the older boys who mocked Harlan for bringing his lunch in a reused grocery bag. Your move, Perry said, leaning against the bar. Harlan shifted his bishop, trapping Perry's queen. Check. Perry groaned. Should have seen that coming. Most people don't. Harlan took a sip of his water. He never drank alcohol during daylight hours, a rule from his Marine days. The door opened, and Victor Greaves entered, nodding to Perry before taking the stool next to Harlan. She hired us, Victor confirmed quietly. Just like you predicted. Harlan nodded once. Deadline. Your birthday. She wants to ambush you at the dinner. A ghost of a smile touched Harlan's lips. So she can maximize the audience for my humiliation. Efficient. Perry glanced between them. You sure this is the way to go? Divorce lawyers exist for a reason. This isn't about ending a marriage, Harlan replied, resetting the chess pieces. It's about exposing the truth. Victor pulled out his phone, showing Harlan a photograph. Leanne Brody. She'll be tailing you starting tomorrow. Smart kid, but she doesn't know you're aware. Harlan studied the image. Make sure she gets frustrated enough to look elsewhere. I want her to accidentally discover Marla's activities. Already planned. She'll find nothing on you for a week, then get a glimpse of Marla entering Reed's gym after hours. Perry shook his head. Man, the gym trainer and the therapist? That's cold. It's tactical, Harlan corrected. Marla doesn't want partners. She wants an audience. What about the money she's been moving? Victor asked. Let it continue. Every transfer is more evidence. Harlan stood, placing cash on the counter for his water. She wants war? Let her bring it. But when it lands, she won't see it coming. Victor's expression grew serious. This is going to destroy her, Harlan. Professionally, socially, everything. You understand that. Harlan's eyes hardened. 4 months ago, I found a text on her phone when she was in the shower. Just a time and place. I followed her that night to Reed's gym. Watched through the window as my wife of 12 years kissed him. Then I followed her to her emergency therapy session with Dr. Salter. He paused. 3 nights later, she came home, kissed me, said she'd been working late. That was her choice. And you've been planning this since then? Perry asked quietly. No second chances with betrayal. Harlan gathered his jacket. My father taught me that. After Harlan left, Perry turned to Victor. Is he going to be okay? Victor watched the door close. He's not planning this to be okay. He's planning this to win. Outside, Harlan walked to his car, mentally reviewing the next steps. The evidence was mounting: financial records, surveillance photos, witness testimonies, audio recordings. Marla thought she was setting a trap. She didn't realize she'd been in one for months. His phone buzzed with a text from her. Don't forget dinner with the Hendersons on Friday. Try to act like you want to be there. He replied with a simple will do. Every communication now was just moving pieces across the board. Harlan had learned in the Marines that the most dangerous moment in combat was when you thought you had the upper hand. That's when you made mistakes. Marla was making mistakes. He was making sure they were fatal ones. Leanne Brody suppressed a yawn as she adjusted her camera lens. For 6 days straight, she'd followed Harlan Knox through the most boring routine imaginable. Home to work, work to gym, gym to home, occasional stops at a local bar to meet his friend Perry. Zero suspicious behavior. Tonight, she was parked outside the Knox residence at 11 p.m., watching Harlan through the office window as he worked on his computer. The man was a machine. No secret phone calls. No mysterious meetings. No unexplained absences. Her phone vibrated. Victor, anything? He asked when she answered. Nothing. Again. She couldn't keep the frustration from her voice. The guy's cleaner than a surgeon's scalpel. Either he's not having an affair, or he's better at hiding it than anyone I've ever tailed. Keep watching. Everyone slips eventually. She ended the call, then noticed movement in the driveway. Marla Knox was getting into her car. Curious the client hadn't mentioned any late-night activities. Decision time. Stay on Harlan or follow the wife. Harlan wasn't going anywhere. His routine was predictable to the minute. Leanne started her engine and followed Marla's car at a discreet distance. 20 minutes later, Marla pulled into the empty parking lot of Peak Performance, a high-end gym owned by Reed Jessup. The place was clearly closed dark except for a faint light in the back office. Leanne positioned herself behind a large SUV with a clear view of the entrance. Marla didn't even look around before using a key to let herself in. Well, Leanne retrieved her camera with the telephoto lens. Through the office window, she captured Marla embracing a muscular man, presumably Reed Jessup. The kiss that followed wasn't casual. She took several more photos as clothes started coming off, then put her camera down. This wasn't what the client was paying for, but it was definitely interesting. The next morning, Leanne placed the photos on Victor's desk. I think I've been following the wrong Knox. Victor examined the images without surprise. Interesting development. Interesting? That's our client kissing a man who isn't her husband. Meanwhile, the husband she's convinced is cheating hasn't done anything remotely suspicious in a week. Victor tucked the photos into a folder. Focus on the husband, Brody. That's what you're being paid for. But the client hired us to investigate her husband, not to judge her activities. Leanne frowned. Something feels off about this whole thing. Welcome to divorce investigations. Nothing's ever what it seems. Victor handed her back the folder. Document this incident, but keep following Harlan Knox. We need to be thorough. After Leanne left, Victor locked his door and made a call. Your wife visited Jessup last night. Leanne caught them together. Good, Harlan replied. Make sure those photos end up in the final report. What about Dr. Salter? Marla has an emergency session scheduled for tonight at 10:30. That's not on her calendar. Have Leanne follow her there too. Victor hesitated. She's getting suspicious about the assignment. Let her be. It's better if she figures it out on her own. More credible that way. Later that evening, Leanne sat in her car outside Dr. Ava Salter's office building. Sure enough, at 10:28 p.m., Marla's car pulled into the parking lot. Through her binoculars, Leanne watched as Marla entered the building without signing in at the security desk. Leanne waited 15 minutes, then approached the building herself. The night guard was easy to charm. I think I left my phone in Dr. Miller's office, she lied, naming a different doctor in the directory. Go ahead, but make it quick, the guard replied, buzzing her in without logging her entry. Upstairs, Leanne moved silently down the hall. Dr. Salter's office light was on, the frosted glass door closed. She positioned herself near a water fountain with a clear viewpoint. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Dr. Salter emerged first, checking the hallway before Marla followed. What happened next removed all doubt. Dr. Salter pulled Marla close for a lingering kiss. Leanne snapped a quick photo with her phone, then ducked into a doorway as the women separated. After they left, she returned to her car, processing what she'd discovered. Our client is sleeping with both her husband's marriage counselor and a gym owner, while insisting her squeaky clean husband is the cheater. The next morning, she confronted Victor in his office. Our client is having affairs with at least 2 people, one of them the very therapist who's supposed to be saving her marriage, Leanne said, placing the new photos on his desk. Meanwhile, her husband shows 0 signs of infidelity. What kind of case is this? Victor looked at her steadily. The kind that tests what you're willing to do for a client. The client is lying to us. Clients always lie. The question is whether we serve the client or the truth. Leanne leaned forward. You already knew, didn't you? About Marla's affairs. Victor's silence was answer enough. There's more going on here, she pressed. Knox hired you first, didn't he? Smart girl. Victor opened his drawer and pulled out a much thicker file. Harlan Knox has been my client for 4 months. Everything Marla's doing, he's been documenting it. Every affair, every misappropriated dollar, every lie. So why the charade? Why have me follow him when you know he's clean? Because when this ends, There can't be any question about who betrayed whom. You're an independent investigator who was hired by Marla to find dirt on Harlan, but discovered her infidelity instead. Victor studied her reaction. The question is, are you in? Leanne considered the ethical implications. Then she thought about the woman who'd hired her to investigate an innocent spouse while carrying on multiple affairs. What exactly would I be doing? Continue following Marla. Document everything. And prepare a report that will be delivered at Harlan's birthday dinner. She's planning to expose him publicly. Yes, but she'll be exposing herself instead. Leanne nodded slowly. I'm in, but I want a bonus for the ethical gymnastics I'm performing here. Victor almost smiled. Done. Harlan sat in his home office, reviewing the latest surveillance photos. Marla with Reed at a hotel 2 counties over. Marla with Ava after hours. Marla withdrawing cash from their joint account, $2,000 this time. All meticulously logged and dated. The printer hummed as it produced the finalized divorce papers his lawyer had sent over. Harlan read them carefully, checking every detail. When Marla's world collapsed, there would be no loopholes for her to exploit. His phone rang. It was Perry. She's making the restaurant reservation for your birthday dinner. Invited half the town from what I hear. Perfect. Harlan sorted the photos into chronological order. The bigger the audience, the better. You don't think this is overkill? Perry asked. I mean, divorce her, sure. Take her for everything. But the public humiliation. She chose the venue, not me. Harlan's voice hardened. She wants to destroy my reputation in front of everyone who matters to me. I'm just redirecting the damage. What about afterward? You've been planning this takedown for months. What happens when it's done? Harlan hadn't thought that far ahead. The mission consumed him. I rebuild. Alone. You know I've got your back either way. After hanging up, Harlan checked his other phone, the burner he'd been using to contact Alton Breck, Marla's divorce attorney. They'd never met in person, but Harlan had been feeding him anonymous tips about ethical concerns in Marla's case. Mr. Breck, this is Wallace Jenkins, Harlan said, using his pseudonym when Breck answered. I have information about your client, Marla Knox. Mr. Jenkins, these calls are becoming harassment. Unless you have something concrete. She's using marital assets to fund her affairs. Over $42,000 in the past 3 months. That's commingled funds being used for activities that directly undermine the marriage. A pause. That's a serious accusation. Check account number 87329-45B. Withdrawals on the 5th, 13th, and 21st of each month. Always between $1,500 and $3,000. How did you get this information? I also know she's sleeping with her marriage counselor, Dr. Ava Salter. That's an ethical violation that could cost the doctor her license. Breck's voice lowered. Who are you really? Someone who believes in justice, Harlan replied, then ended the call. He checked his watch. Marla would be home in 20 minutes. Time to play the oblivious husband again. When she arrived, Harlan was in the kitchen, preparing a simple dinner. You're cooking. Marla sounded surprised. Just pasta. He kept his tone neutral. How was work? Exhausting. The Marshall account is a nightmare. She poured herself a glass of wine. By the way, I've booked Geraldo's for your birthday dinner. Private room. I invited about 30 people. That's generous. Harlan stirred the sauce. Any special occasion beyond my birthday? Marla smiled, a predatory gleam in her eyes. I just think it's time we celebrated you properly. In front of everyone who matters. Looking forward to it. Later, as they ate in strained silence, Harlan noticed Marla checking her phone repeatedly. Expecting a call? He asked mildly. Just work emails. She put the phone screen down. Oh, I spoke with Alton today about reviewing some contract for a client. Alton. First name basis already. Interesting. Alton Breck? I've heard he's good. Ruthless, they say. Marla's eyes narrowed slightly. You know him? By reputation only. Cybersecurity work overlaps with legal sometimes. Well, he's brilliant. And thorough. I'm sure he is. Harlan took a bite of pasta. Thoroughness is underappreciated these days. Leanne paced Victor's office, agitation visible in every movement. This whole thing is a setup. You're using me to build a case against our own client. Victor remained impassive. Our client hired us to investigate her husband. We did. Found nothing. Then discovered her own infidelity. That's all factual. But you knew what we'd find because Harlan hired you months ago. She slapped her hand on the desk. That's not ethical. What's not ethical is charging someone to investigate their spouse while sleeping with multiple people behind their back. Victor leaned forward. Look, I've been in this business 19 years. Seen every kind of betrayal. What Marla Knox is doing using her husband's birthday dinner to publicly humiliate him with false accusations that crosses a line. Leanne dropped into a chair. So what happens now? You have a choice. Work with us to expose the truth or walk away. But if you walk, the truth still comes out. Harlan has enough evidence without us. She thought about it, her investigator's instincts warring with her professional ethics. If I stay, what's in it for me? Besides the bonus? A reputation. In this business, being known for thorough, accurate work matters more than who hired you first. Victor slid a folder toward her. In this case, we'll make headlines. Leanne took the folder, examining the content, surveillance photos, financial records, transcripts of conversations. The evidence against Marla was overwhelming. Fine, she said finally. I'm in. But I want it clear in the report that I was hired by Marla Knox to investigate Harlan and discovered her activities independently. Already noted. Victor nodded approvingly. One more thing. We need audio evidence from Reed Jessup. Something explicit that confirms the nature of the relationship. How am I supposed to get that? Bug his office. Harlan's friend Perry is handling it. Perry Kane was working the late shift when Reed Jessup came in with 2 of his gym employees. It was nearly midnight, the bar mostly empty. The usual? Perry asked as Reed sat at the counter. Make it double. Tough day. Reed was a regular, came in 3 or 4 nights a week, usually with different women. Tonight, he seemed tense, checking his phone repeatedly. Perry served the drinks, then leaned on the bar. Woman troubles? You seem stressed. Reed snorted. More like women troubles. Plural. Ah, the curse of the good-looking gym owner. Perry kept his tone light. Too many options, not enough time. Something like that. Reed downed half his whiskey. Perry waited until Reed had finished his second drink before mentioning Marla. So your client Marla Knox in here last week. She mentioned you've really helped transform her fitness level. Reed's posture changed subtly. Yeah, she's dedicated. Private training, right? After hours. A smirk crossed Reed's face. Very private. Perry refilled his glass, then pretended to be distracted by another customer. When he returned, Reed was already looser, more talkative. Perry had positioned his phone under the bar, recording app activated. So this Marla, Perry said casually. Good client. Reed leaned in, lowering his voice. Man to man? She's more than a client. Way more. Yeah? Lucky you. Her husband's some ex-military hard-ass. All rules, no fun. She says he hasn't touched her in months. Reed laughed. His loss, my gain. She's married? Risky. Worth it. She's wild, man. Comes to the gym after hours. Can't keep her hands off me. Reed's speech was slightly slurred now. Plus, she's got money. Pays for weekend getaways, gifts. Not bad for a few hours of personal training, right? Perry kept his expression neutral while his stomach turned. Sounds like a sweet setup. The best part? She thinks her husband's cheating on her. Got some PI following him. Reed laughed again. Guy probably spends his evenings doing spreadsheets or whatever boring shit ex-Marines do. She hired a detective? Serious business. Yeah, planning some big scene at his birthday dinner. Gonna expose him in front of everyone. Reed shook his head. Cold, right? But hot. She's got this whole revenge fantasy going, while she's the one actually cheating. Ironic. That's not even the best part. Reed leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. She's also sleeping with their marriage counselor. Some doctor chick. Told me they hook up right in the therapy office. Crazy, right? Perry whistled, disguising his disgust. Sounds like a woman with complicated needs. I don't ask questions. I just enjoy the benefits. Reed finished his drink. Speaking of which, I should head out. Meeting her at midnight. After Reed left, Perry stopped the recording and played it back. Every incriminating word was clear. He sent the audio file to Harlan with a text. Got it. Even worse than we thought. Harlan's reply was immediate. Good work. Add it to the file. 3 days before the birthday dinner, Marla met Reed at their usual hotel. The excitement of deception had long since become routine, but tonight she was particularly animated. Everything's set for Saturday, she said, watching Reed dress after their encounter. The private room at Araldo's, all the important people in Harlan's life, and the detective's full report. Reed pulled his shirt on. You sure that report's going to show what you want it to? It has to. Harlan's been acting strange for months. All those late nights, the private calls, the emotional distance. She sat up in bed. There's no other explanation. Maybe he's just, I don't know, depressed or something. Marla scoffed. Harlan doesn't get depressed. He gets even. That's why I need to strike first. Reed checked his watch. I should go. Early client tomorrow. After he left, Marla called Dr. Salter. Are you coming to the dinner Saturday? She asked when Ava answered. I don't think that's appropriate, Marla. I'm your marriage counselor. Former counselor. We haven't had a session in weeks. Marla's voice softened. Please? I need someone there who's on my side when it all comes out. A pause. I'm not comfortable with this plan. Public humiliation isn't therapeutic. It's vengeful. He deserves it, Marla insisted. After how cold he's been, how distant. Have you considered that his behavior might have other causes? Or that this approach could backfire? Just be there. Please. Marla hung up before Ava could respond. In her office across town. Dr. Ava Salter stared at her phone, a sense of unease growing. Something about this situation felt wrong, dangerous. She'd crossed professional boundaries with Marla. Let attraction override ethics. Now she was being drawn into something that felt increasingly like a trap. She pulled out Harlan Knox's file, reviewing her notes from their sessions. He'd been reserved, but observant. Those steady eyes missing nothing. Had he known all along? The day before the dinner, Leanne completed her final report. The document was comprehensive surveillance photos, financial records, audio recordings, witness statements, all pointing to Marla Knox's multiple affairs and financial improprieties. Victor reviewed it with her in his office. This is thorough work, he said, closing the folder. You've documented everything meticulously. Will it hold up if she tries to challenge it? Every claim is backed by evidence. Multiple sources. She'd have no grounds. Leanne frowned. What about my role in this? I was hired by her, but I'm submitting a report that destroys her. You were hired to find the truth. You did. Victor handed her an envelope. Your bonus, as promised, plus a letter of recommendation. You've got a future in this business. Later, Leanne met Harlan in person for the first time at a coffee shop miles from his usual haunts. Mr. Knox. She extended her hand. I'm Leanne Brody. His handshake was firm but brief. Thank you for meeting me. Victor explained your situation. I've completed my report on your wife's activities. Harlan's expression remained neutral, and it contains everything, every affair, every misused dollar, every lie, all documented with times, dates, and evidence. She slid a thumb drive across the table, including her relationship with Dr. Salter. The report she's expecting to receive at the dinner, the one supposedly about me, has this information instead. Leanne nodded. Victor made the switch yesterday. She has no idea. Good. Harlan pocketed the drive. After tomorrow, your role in this ends. I'll handle the aftermath. Can I ask you something? Leanne leaned forward. Why not just divorce her quietly? Why the public exposure? For a moment, something flickered in Harlan's eyes, a glimpse of raw pain quickly suppressed. She chose the battlefield, he said finally. Not me. As he walked away, Leanne couldn't help but feel she'd just helped arm a guided missile. Whatever happened tomorrow, Marla Knox would never see it coming. To Araldo's restaurant glowed with warm lighting and old-world elegance. The private dining room was arranged exactly as Marla had specified, the long table set for 30, Harlan's chair positioned so everyone could see his face when the moment came. Harlan arrived early, nodding to the staff he'd privately spoken with the day before. Everything was in place: the AV system, the seating arrangements, the timing of courses. He'd left nothing to chance. Guests began arriving at 7. Colleagues from his cybersecurity firm, friends from their social circle, his former commanding officer, Marla's PR associates. Even Harlan's father, Arthur, who rarely left his cabin in the mountains. Marla made her entrance at 7:15, radiant in a red dress that drew every eye. She kissed Harlan's cheek, her perfume familiar yet now repulsive to him. "Happy birthday, darling," she said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Thank you for arranging this." His smile didn't reach his eyes. Reed arrived next, exchanging a too casual nod with Marla. Then Dr. Salter, looking uncomfortable. Victor Greaves came with Leanne, introduced as business associates. The final arrival was Alton Breck, Marla's divorce attorney, whom she greeted with exaggerated surprise. "Alton, I didn't expect you to make it." "Wouldn't miss it," Breck replied, eyeing Harlan with professional assessment. Dinner proceeded with orchestrated pleasantries. Wine flowed. Conversations ebbed and flowed. Harlan played his part perfectly, the unsuspecting husband, graciously accepting birthday wishes. After the main course, Marla stood, tapping her glass for attention. Her eyes gleamed with anticipation. This was her moment. "Before we bring out the cake, I have something important to share," she announced. The room quieted. "Harlan, we've been married for 12 years. That's a long time to build a life together." Murmurs of agreement from the guests. "But a marriage is only as strong as its foundation of trust." Her voice hardened slightly. "And sometimes that foundation cracks." Harlan watched her, face impassive. She was following her script perfectly. "I've noticed changes in you, Harlan. Late nights, secret calls, emotional distance." She reached under the table and produced a manila folder. "So I did what any concerned wife would do. I hired professionals to learn the truth." She slid the folder across the table. The room went silent, all eyes on Harlan, that he opened it slowly, scanning the contents with deliberate care. Then he looked up, meeting Marla's triumphant gaze. "Victor," Harlan said calmly, "would you mind reading this report aloud?" For clarity, Victor stood, taking the folder. "Of course." Marla frowned. "Wait, what are you?" "Client Marla Knox," Victor read, his professional voice carrying across the silent room. "Subject of investigation, Marla Knox's extramarital affairs. Evidence: multiple concurrent sexual relationships, including but not limited to Reed Jessup and Dr. Ava Salter." The color drained from Marla's face. "No, that's not." "Financial impropriety," Victor continued. "Misappropriation of marital assets totaling $42,750 over a 3-month period to fund hotel stays, gifts, and weekend trips with Mr. Jessup." Gasps and whispers erupted around the table. Reed half rose from his seat, then sank back down as Perry placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "Stop this," Marla demanded, voice shaking. "This isn't right. That's not the report I ordered." "It's exactly the report you ordered, Mrs. Knox," Leanne spoke up. "You hired our firm to investigate your husband for infidelity. We found none. What we did find, however, was extensive evidence of your own affairs." Dr. Salter stood abruptly. "I should go. Please stay, Dr." Harlan said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Your ethical violations are relevant to this discussion." Marla looked around wildly, seeing shock and judgment on every face. "This is a setup. Harlan orchestrated this. You arranged this dinner, Marla. You chose the guests. You hired the investigators." Harlan's calm was terrifying in contrast to her panic. "You wanted the truth in front of everyone. Happy birthday to me." Harlan stood, producing a folder of his own. "For those requiring additional clarity, I have supplementary evidence." He motioned to the waiter, who wheeled in a small AV cart with a projector. The lights dimmed. "For months ago, I discovered my wife was unfaithful," Harlan explained, his voice controlled. "Rather than confront her immediately, I chose to understand the full scope of the betrayal." The projection screen showed surveillance photos Marla entering Reed's gym after hours, leaving Dr. Salter's office at midnight, withdrawing cash from ATMs. Financial records, Harlan continued, advancing the slides. Joint account withdrawals, funding hotel stays, registered under aliases. Credit card statements showing gifts purchased for Mr. Jessup, including a $3,200 watch bought with our anniversary trip fund. Reed shifted uncomfortably as several pairs of eyes turned to the expensive timepiece on his wrist. And finally, audio evidence. Harlan pressed play on a recording device. Reed's voice filled the room. Her husband, some ex-military hard-ass. All rules, no fun. She says he hasn't touched her in months. His loss, my gain. Marla lunged for the device. Turn it off. She's wild, man. Reed's recorded voice continued. Comes to the gym after hours. Can't keep her hands off me. Plus, she's got money. Pays for weekend getaways, gifts. Perry stood guard by the equipment, preventing Marla from reaching it. She's also sleeping with their marriage counselor. The recording concluded. Some Dr. Chick told me they hook up right in the therapy office. Dr. Salter closed her eyes, face ashen. Harlan turned the lights back on. I've prepared copies of these materials for anyone with professional interest. He handed folders to Reed's business partner, the head of Dr. Salter's medical group, and finally, a thick sheaf of papers to Marla herself. Divorce filing, he explained clinically. My attorney has already submitted these to the court. Given the documented misappropriation of marital assets and the multiple infidelities, I think you'll find the terms fair. Alton Breck, Marla's supposed legal ally, stood up. Mrs. Knox, had I known the full circumstances, I would never have agreed to represent you. Consider this my withdrawal from your case. You knew. Marla whirled on him. You were supposed to be my lawyer. I received anonymous tips about ethical concerns, Breck said. Now I see they were well-founded. Good evening, everyone. He left, followed quickly by several other guests eager to escape the unfolding disaster. Reed tried to approach his business partner, who held up a hand to stop him. We'll discuss your future with the gym tomorrow, Reed. If there is one. Dr. Salter gathered her things with shaking hands. Marla, I can't. She stopped, unable to finish. I'm sorry. She hurried out. Marla stood alone in the center of the room, her careful makeup streaked with tears, the remnants of her planned triumph in ruins around her. You planned this, she accused Harlan, voice breaking. You set me up. No, Marla. You did this. Every step, every lie, every betrayal. Harlan's voice remained steady. I just made sure everyone saw the truth. 3 weeks after the birthday dinner, Harlan sat at Perry's bar after closing time. The place was empty except for Leanne Brody, who nursed a scotch at the end of the counter. Divorce was finalized yesterday, Harlan said, studying the amber liquid in his glass. Judge expedited it given the circumstances. Perry whistled. That was fast. When the evidence is irrefutable, things move quickly. Harlan took a measured sip. Marla didn't contest anything after her lawyer dropped her. What about the house? Leanne asked. Sold. I kept my premarital assets. She kept hers. The joint accounts had already been frozen. Harlan's expression remained neutral, but something in his posture had changed over the past weeks, attention released. She's leaving town. Her firm asked for her resignation after 3 clients pulled their business. Any others? Perry asked. Reed? The doctor. Reed's partner bought him out. Cheaper than dealing with the scandal. Dr. Salter is under review by the medical board. Unprofessional relationship with a client. Harlan shrugged. Actions have consequences. Leanne finished her drink. Victor offered me a full-time position. Said my work on your case impressed him. You earned it, Harlan acknowledged. Your attention to detail made the evidence bulletproof. I still have questions about your approach, she admitted. The public exposure was brutal. She planned the same for me, based on fabricated evidence. Harlan met her gaze. The only difference is, mine was true. Perry changed the subject. So what now? Back to normal life? Normal doesn't exist anymore, Harlan replied. But forward does. He turned to Leanne. Actually, I have a proposition for you. My firm needs someone with your investigative skills for corporate security work. Freelance to start, with potential for more. Leanne raised an eyebrow. Seriously? You're thorough, discreet, and you don't cut ethical corners. That's valuable. She considered it, then nodded. I'm interested. Good. I'll have contract drawn up next week. Harlan finished his drink. Perry raised his glass. To loyalty and revenge served ice cold. Harlan allowed himself a small smile, the first genuine one in months. The storm had passed. The damage was extensive, but controlled, directed precisely where it belonged. He hadn't just survived Marla's betrayal, he'd turned it back on her with surgical precision. His father had been right all those years ago. People would disappoint you, but principles never would. Loyalty was everything, and betrayal always had a price.